the opportunity to be with you today. You know, I'm stunned to be here. I still can't believe that I'm a college graduate. I still have nightmares that I have tests to take. And take my word for it, I was a terrible student. I'm dyslexic. Here's how dyslexia was treated when I was a kid. Smart enough. Hey, smart enough. Hey, smart enough. That was the cure for dyslexia. In fact, one day, the guidance counselor of my high school called my mom in and he said, have you ever thought of taking Jay out of school? You know, Mrs. Leno, education's not for everyone. And then he said, you know, Jay works at McDonald's, doesn't he? You know, they have a wonderful hamburger university program where they teach the kids how to make change. Just could be a real opportunity for Jay. I'm sitting there going, hello, I'm in the room. Anyway, like a lot of you, I was the class clown. I like to show off. I thought I'd like to go into show business, but I had never met anybody in show business living in Andover, Massachusetts. And show business is one of those rare jobs or professions where people who know absolutely nothing about it feel free to give you advice. A neighbor lady, Mrs. Langdell, told my mother, you can't be a comedian unless your father was a comedian. That's the way it is in Hollywood. You can't do it unless your father was a comedian. I said, okay, so I guess that's out. And then for some odd reason, I went to Bentley School of Accounting and Finance. You know why? Because it was close to my house. That's why I went there. A dyslexic accountant. I lasted one semester. One semester. Okay, then Emerson College saved my life. I remember somebody telling me there was this liberal arts college in Boston where a lot of people like me ended up. It was called Emerson. And I came in May for a meeting, and it was told there's not much chance to get in for the fall semester, especially with my grades. And I just pleaded with the administrator. I said, look, this is my last chance. This is the only place where I can learn how to be a comedian. It's the only place that can help me do that. And he paused for a moment. He said, all right, make up a joke about Emerson. You want to be a comedian, say something funny about this place. And I took a moment, and I said, okay, here's the weird thing about Emerson College. You can have girls in your room, you can have drugs in your room, you can have sex in your room 24 hours a day if you wanted to. The only thing you're not allowed to have, a hot plate. That was the joke. That's it. That's it. I'm like, buying, what's going on there? Nothing, sir. We're just getting laid and getting high. You're cooking soup. I hear you making soup in there. Well, against all the rules and disregarding my bad academic record, he said, are you willing to go to summer school? And I said, yeah, no problem. We'll go to summer school. And he said, you're in. And it was the first time in my life that being funny had gotten me something besides detention. It actually got me into college. And for the second time in my life, I met people with the same interests as me. This is the first place people didn't roll their eyes when I said I wanted to be a comedian. You know, when you said that to your parents' friends, like, oh, we're sorry. Heard about Jay, you know. Anyway, our dorm was at 206 Beacon Street, and the first time I ever did comedy was with my roommate, Gene Bronstein, also a student who went on to be a comedy writer as well. And Emerson gave me that opportunity. Plus, I learned stuff. You know, I learned real stuff. I remember taking a black history course and reading James Baldwin and Dick Gregory. And for the first time in my life, I realized all the things I didn't know. I mean, I always knew I couldn't do math, but I had no idea I was this clueless. My problem was, at that time, Emerson College had no stand-up comedy program. I tried out for the drama department, but was intimidated, and I just failed miserably. So rather than try again, I got a chip on my shoulder, took the attitude, oh, is this going to be on the test? I was right, they were wrong. I'll show them I won't learn anything. So I kind of turned my back on Emerson and decided to try and go it alone. I mean, I didn't drop out or anything like that. I just did the basic minimum necessary to get by. So then I literally went door to door trying to be a comedian. You know, Boston was a very serious place, especially with students in the 60s and 70s. Most clubs did a lot of, stop your war machine kind of music and that kind of stuff. And with the exception of maybe George Carlin and Richard Pryor, most comedy didn't really fit in with college students. I would go to music clubs and I would tell the owner, I'm a comedian, and they'd say, get lost. And then I'd put a $50 bill on the bar and I'd say, look, if people leave rather, you keep the 50, but if they laugh and kind of stay, give me my 50 back. And that worked out part of the time. Sometimes it was just gut-wrenching. It was just awful. One club I went into, the owner said, you in the union? I said, no. I didn't know there was a union. He said, oh, yeah, I can't hire you unless you're in the union. He said, go see my friend at the after office over on Tremont Street down there. So I go over there, and this guy says, you the kid Charlie sent over? I said, yeah. He said, how long have you been a comedian? I said, well, I've been trying to do it for about a year. He said, a year? You're supposed to join the union within 3 months. I could fine you right now. You could be in violation. I said, well, how much is it to join? He said, $300. I said, well, I don't have $300. And then he said those magic words, how much you got? I knew I was making a mistake. You just wanted to believe. I just knew I was making a mistake. I just wanted to believe. So I gave him all the money that I had. I said, I had $75. He said, oh, give me that. Then he gives me his business cards. He writes back on the business card, Union Man. He says, you show this card to any club. I felt like Coco in Fame. Remember that movie with it? So I got this card that says Union Man, and I go back to the nightclub, and I hand it to the guy, and the guy breaks out laughing. It says, we don't hire comedians, get lost. Okay, now I'm stupid and broke. Okay. I used to drive to New York every single night to try and get out of the Improv in New York City. At the time, that was the only place that featured unknown comedians. I'd drive to New York every day after class, and I'd sleep in the alley a couple of blocks from the Improv. It was the only dead-end alley around, so it was pretty quiet until midnight when the prostitutes would bring their customers there, and I'm sleeping like 15 feet away. I'm going, really? This is show business? This is what a college degree gets me? But my saving grace was Emerson College, because no matter how awful the gigs were, I always had a place to go back to. Technically, I wasn't a homeless comedian. I was still a college student trying to be a comedian, and Emerson College let me do that. And nobody's more stunned than I was when I graduated. This is the first time in my life I had ever finished anything. And I honestly believe if I could graduate college, oh my God, I could do anything. So what I want to do now is try to pass on to you some of the things I've learned about show business. Here are 20 rules in no particular order, okay? First rule of show business, okay? Try not to get a regular job. When you have a regular job, you wind up acting like regular people. And if you graduated from here, you are not a regular person. Okay? Regular people have day jobs so they can pay for stuff. And paying for stuff means you have to go to work, and going to work means you have to skip the audition for the part your friend got instead of you, who is now a big star. Number 2. Once you leave here, it'll take about 4 years to break into show business. Think of that as your graduate school, okay? You'll learn which agents are crooks. You'll learn which are nice people. You'll get rejected. You'll be lied to. One casting director told me I could never work in television because I had a face that would frighten children. So he suggested that I get my jaw realigned and sent me to this plastic surgeon that he knew. And the surgeon said, yes, we can fix your jaw. Of course, we'll have to break your jaw and then rehang it, and you'll be out of commission for a while. You won't be able to talk. I said, well, how long will I not be able to talk? He said, about a year. I said, a year? I said, I'm a comedian. I cannot talk for a year. So don't get discouraged. Think of that. If you were a doctor, that would be your residency. Number 3, you're an artist. Suffer for your work. Paint yourself into a corner. Take every degrading, humiliating show business job you can get that doesn't require taking your clothes off, and you will learn something from every experience, and it'll give you a great panel when you go on late-night talk shows. Number 4, always keep people in your life who don't quite understand what it is you do. It'll keep you humble. You're never as important as you think you are. When I was on the cover of Time magazine the first time, Don Lemon. I called my mom to tell her, I said, "Hey, Mom, I'm on the cover of Time magazine." My mom said, "Wait, which one is it?" I said, "Time magazine, man." "Which one?" "Time magazine, Mom, the big news magazine, Time magazine." "Oh." I said, "Look, I call Uncle Frank in Annie in New York and call Uncle Frank in Uncle Tony in Miami and tell them I'm on the cover of Time magazine." My mother said, "Oh, no, I don't think so." I said, what do you mean you don't think so?" She goes, "Well," she said, "I think they put you on the cover of the ones they sell around here because they know you're from this area." She said, "I don't think you're on the cover in Miami." I go, "Ma, I'm on the cover in Miami." Number 5, my favorite quote is from a fellow New Englander, a poet named John Greenleaf Whittier. And his quote is, "For all the sad words of tongue and pen, no sadder of these it might have been." I love that quote because, there's nothing wrong with failing because you're not good enough. There's nothing sadder than I could have had it if I just tried a little harder. Number 6, if there's someone in show business you're trying to emulate or you admire and you wish to write for, write that person a letter and try handing it to them in person if possible. Nothing connects human beings to one another more than human contact. These people are artists, and with any luck, they will see in you a little bit of themselves. Now, contrary to what you might think, people really do like to help young people. Almost every person that worked for me on The Tonight Show had never worked in television before. I never hired anybody through an agent. It was all people that approached me. We made eye-to-eye contact. We made a good impression. I'll always spend more time with the person that drove halfway around the country to hand me a page of jokes than the person that sends me an email that says, "I'd like to work for you, but I don't want to leave Cleveland." Number 5, or number 7, rather. See how dyslexic I am? I said number 5. Keep the friends you've made here. One of them could be the key to your success, or you could be the key to theirs. I know this may be hard to believe, but it's really not a cutthroat business. When I was starting out, I got more work from other comedians than I ever got from agents or managers. The person sitting next to you today could be the key to your success. People like Steve Martin helped me tremendously. And when I had a little success, I personally went to Johnny Carson to tell him about Ellen DeGeneres. It's really a wonderful business. You don't pollute anything. You don't make dangerous chemicals. You don't hurt the environment. The worst thing you can do is not raise the human spirit. That's really the worst thing you can do. And number 8, do not judge your own success by the success of others. I was very fortunate. When I started out as a comedian, I was the only comedian I knew. So consequently, I had no idea how terrible I was. When I was doing old people's birthday parties for the state for $10 a day, I thought, oh, I had made it, $10 a day. Bessie, you like comedians? And that's what it was. It was a nightmare. I had no idea how bad I was. But by the time I got to Los Angeles, I met Letterman and Robin Williams and Jerry Seinfeld. I'd been doing it for a few years. I wasn't thrown how good the competition was. Number 9, never turn down a job because of the money. Only turn it down because you don't like it. Money will come later. Don't even worry about that. Number 10, it's nice to believe in yourself. It's better to have other people believe in you. It really works much better. Number 11, here's another rule I've observed. If you can stay in this business for 7 years, you can stay in it the rest of your life. By that I mean, if you can physically make it to the stage or the recording studio or the movie set for 7 years without screwing up, you will make a living in this business. I know that sounds simplistic, but think of all the careers that have been sidelined by greed and envy and drugs and alcohol, sex, ego. It's usually never your talent, your ability that does you in. It's one of those things, so keep your eye on the ball. Now, I know this might sound odd, but it's really a genetic flaw that makes us go into show business. I mean, what normal people wants to stand on a stage and have vegetables thrown on them? They don't. I read somewhere that most people's greatest fear is having to speak in public. They're frightened to death of it. We are fortunate to live in an age when it obviously pays huge dividends. If this was ancient Rome, And Caesar said, why are those soldiers laughing? Well, that man is entertaining him. Really? Kill him. Number 12, you can never make it too late. You can only make it too soon. You know, show business is like golf. If you play it right, you can do it to your 80s. When you start out in show business, I know hours are days, days are weeks, weeks are years. I thought I was the oldest guy. I thought I was the last guy ever to do The Tonight Show. I was only 27 years old. But then we get to be my age, the whole thing turns around, and years are weeks, and weeks are days, and days are hours, so it kind of turns. Number 13. If you can't get in the front door, go through the back door. You know, for years I couldn't get the Tonight Show. I auditioned, I just couldn't get it. You know why? I wasn't good enough. Nothing personal. I wasn't good enough. So I did every second-rate cable, bad talk show I could get my hands on until I was good enough. And don't pout and be an a-hole like I was when I couldn't pass the drama audition. Keep trying. Number 14, you can only live in the time you live in. You know, I had a young comedian come up to me one time and he said, well, you and Letterman and Seinfeld, you guys all came up during the golden age of comedy when it was easier. All right, so what are you advocating? Time travel? Shut up, you moron. All right, number 15. This one's really important. Don't have a relationship with a partner who doesn't get it. If you're someone who says, why do you have to go to so many auditions? Next, move on. That person is not for you, okay? Let me tell you something. Until your creative thirst is quenched, you're not going to be happy with anyone. You're an artist. If they can't share in your pain and your joy, it's not going to work. You need a soulmate, not a cellmate, okay? That's pretty much what it is. Number 16, never go on stage mad. If you're in a fight with someone, even if you're right, just apologize. This is more important. Anger robs creativity. I remember watching a great comedian once. He was really funny until he started talking about his ex-wife. Then it was like, whoa, something else is happening here. So remember, anger robs creativity. Number 17, and this one's important. Never create anything bigger than your act. By that I mean, don't become more famous for something that has nothing to do with what your talent is. Meryl Streep is the greatest actress in the world. How much does she make a movie? I have no idea. She's famous for being the greatest actress in the world, not the highest paid. When people find out how much money you're making, suddenly you become a lot less talented. Yeah. So try to get press for things that have something to do with your abilities. Okay. 18. When you get too comfortable, move on. Most performers are pretty lazy. They only like to perform where they are best received. You know, I meet young comedians all the time just saying to me, I just want to do colleges. I just play small clubs. I just play jazz venues. You should always try to find the toughest audience you can. It's how you get better at what you do. You know, when I was starting out at the Comedy Store in Los Angeles, I personally asked for the toughest slot of the night. I wanted to follow Richard Pryor every night, because I knew that Richard would blow the audience out, they would be exhausted, and then I got up and I found out very quickly I didn't have 20 minutes. I had about 6 minutes, because that was the only stuff that was really funny, and I threw everything else out and built on that 6 minutes. It's how you get better. Number 19, all manufacturing has a scrap rate, okay? The more product you put out, the greater your chances of error. Accept criticism, resolve to do better. You know something? I never read bad reviews. I always read bad reviews. You'll learn more from your critics than you will ever learn from your friends. And number 20, the last one, remember, anybody can have a life. Careers are hard to come by. So with that, I say happy Mother's Day, and thank you so much for this great honor. Thank you.